Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 8th of May 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Wednesday's morning session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, let's quickly jump into the charts. So the first one I want to touch on here, guys, is the CAC40. Now, I've talked about this one yesterday, and this is something that I've mentioned in my traders tea time yesterday, and just to kind of give you something to have a look at, because it was building up a nice potential scenario here, potential downside scenario. So, and this is what happened exactly. So we managed to break this key level here. So this is where the index was trading at when we were looking at it on my traders tea time. It was sitting around the 5,435 level, and what I was saying, that if we continue breaking that, then yep, further declines are possible. This is where we will aim for the 5,400 level. But to be honest, it has now the full right to travel further down to potentially test this 200 EMA here, and also just slightly above that there is an or just slightly around there, let's put it that way, there is a nice good target, which is this little high that we saw here back on the 27th of March, and that's the area around the 5,340 zone. So keep your eyes on this one. This is where the index could also meet the 200 EMA and the of course this 5,340 level. This 200 EMA is, of course, this is, I'm looking at the 4-hour chart, and a good potential target. Let's see if it actually accomplishes that. For now we are more to the downside, and because the equity markets have been have sold off yesterday, so there's a bit of increased negativity around the air, let's put it that way. So basically that's our target, the short-term target. If we do see a touch of that, then we'll take it from there, see if it actually wants to travel further down. But if it does want to travel further down, now this is where it could turn out to be quite ugly for CAC40. In terms of the upside here, of course, if it travels back above this 5,435 level, this is where we will start. We'll start looking at some higher levels, but very cautiously. But if this decides to push back above the 5,492 level, now of course then we will aim for slightly higher levels. We may even actually ignore this upside support line then and just target the 5,600 level again. So in other words, if we put some arrows here, this is how it would look. If we do see a pushback above the 5,492, that's great. We may consider slightly higher levels. We're going to go short. Well, we're going to go higher, but like we're going to keep it short and simple. Just aiming for going higher step by step. But if this decides to continue pushing further down away from this 5,400 level, this is the target that we're keeping a close eye on. It's the 5,340 level, which is around the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. Jumping into DAX very quickly, this is what I was talking about when I was covering DAX yesterday. Now, we were still trading above this downside resistance line, but as you can see, the markets have sold off, and then DAX as well, and DAX traveled and closed below this downside resistance line taken from the high of January last year. So very important line. As you can see, we now closed below it. Of course, all this increases the chances for a further slide lower. We may see a test of this 12,030 zone, but don't forget that we do have this psychological psychological 12,000 level here. Let me just put this on the chart. So this 12,000 level, let's put it that way, around here basically, which also actually coincides with the 100 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, shown as the green line. So keep your eyes on this one. So in other words, we may see a slide lower, but then there could be a possibility maybe to see a small rebound, maybe back up here towards this this downside resistance line for a quick test from underneath, and if it holds, then yep, another leg of selling could be possible. But for now, that's what we're looking for. Of course, we're going to be targeting now the 12,030 and then the psychological 12,000 level. And if it struggles to overcome this, then yep, we may see a bit of a correction back up. But to be honest, if it continues to drive lower and we see a close below the 12,000 level, now this is where we will aim for this upside support line taken from the low of December last year. So keep your eyes on this one, guys. In terms of the upside, we would need to see this one traveling back above this downside resistance line and above this 12,200 level in order to kind of aim for higher levels. Again, for now, it seems that the upside could be slightly off the table. So let's see how this is going to play out in the short run. Very quickly on Bitcoin, so Bitcoin managed to reach our level here near the 6,250 zone, from which it retraced back down, and now it's kind of stuck here. Now, I'm not saying that this is where it's going to now roll over and travel lower. No, that's not the case. But what we're going to do here, we're going to take a very cautious approach now here. Even though we may see this one traveling a little bit lower, it could potentially try to find maybe good support around here near the 5,910, or even actually go further down towards the 5,750 level. But to be honest, in order for us now to consider higher levels, we would like to see a nice, good, clear break above the 6,250 level. This way, the crypto would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could then target the 6,500 level. So for now, we are very cautious with the upside. But if we do see a push above the 6,250, then yep, we will target higher levels. In terms of the downside, still the game plan remains the same for us. In order to consider lower areas, again, at least slightly lower areas, we need to see a drop below the 5,750 level initially. But then also, what you could draw here for yourselves is this little tentative upside support line, just for that better maybe confirmation for those who are more on the cautious side. What you could do is you could keep an eye on this one. So in other words, if we see a drop below this level that I was talking about, the 5,750, certainly we could start looking at the downside, probably more than to the upside. But for a better confirmation, you could in a way wait for that break and a close below this upside support line, and then target lower areas. So for now, that's this little territory for us is going to be a bit of a neutral territory, as the index could kind of start ranging here and maybe actually naturally traveling to the upside support line. So for now, guys, that's the situation. On the upside, 6,250 level, that's where we're looking for. On the downside, the 5,750 zone. So keep your eyes on those. Euro GBP very quickly. So it a little bit more, and we will recover the whole Friday's all the Friday's losses. So it continues to push higher. Yesterday traveled higher. Yes, it traveled towards the 0.8580 zone approximately there, but then quickly retraced back down towards the 0.8555. As you can see, this area is acting as a very nice strong area of support, as just recently it acted as resistance. So it had a nice bounce from it, and now it's traveling towards this, initially traveling towards this 50 EMA here, shown as the red line. But to be honest, what we have here in mind is the 0.8590 zone. So this is what we're looking for. It would be great to see if this could continue pushing further, and to be honest, it would be great to see actually a nice good push back towards the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. and this way, to be honest, everything could then change towards the positive side, and we could see maybe this one traveling further up maybe next week. So yep, this could be a nice potential move here for the bulls. But again, always be very careful if for sudden reverses. Let's say if this decides to drop back below the 0.8555 zone, we will then target this little recent low. Let me just put this one on the chart, and this little recent low here near the 0.8535 zone. Slightly below that, we do have the 0.8530 as well, which is quite an interesting area. As you can see, previously it acted as good support here in the beginning of April. So if we do see a drop, a further slide lower below the 0.8530, then we could see further declines here towards the 0.85 zone. But again, the downside seems to be slightly off the table for now, unless it drops back below the 0.8555. Very quickly now on NZDUSD. So of course, as it was widely expected, and this is what I was talking about yesterday as well, guys. So basically, we did have a nice drop here. We did have a nice sell-off of the New Zealand dollar, and that's of course due to the rate cut that we got from the RBNZ. But what's interesting here is that the pair very quickly retraced back up here. So it did manage to travel lower here, did manage to test this this area what I was talking about near the 0.6535, but actually dropped even lower and found good support near this 0.86525. So from which it kind of rebounded and pushed higher again. So for now, for us, this is going to be a bit of a neutral territory, because in order to consider higher levels, we would like to see a push back above the 0.6630 zone first, and then we will consider a possible move towards the 0.6665 or the 80 area, which acted as a very good area of support here back in the end of April. In terms of the downside, if this suddenly drops back below the 0.6575 level, then well, I mean, this is where it could become interesting again for the sellers, because this would break this key area of support again, and yep, we could see maybe a further slide lower, maybe even actually revisiting these lows here, this tonight's lows, and yep, around the 0.6535 and the 0.6525. So for now, guys, a long story short, we are going to remain somewhat neutral on this one, but we'll probably wait. If we see a drop below the 0.6580, then yep, we'll consider further declines, at least towards the today's lows. But if this reverses back sharply here and pushes above the 0.6630, then yep, the upside could be on the table again. So keep your eyes on that one. GBPNZD, this is something that I was talking about in my video yesterday. This is what I was saying, that we may see, if the NZD starts selling off, we may see a good move here. And look at this fantastic move. We managed to break this key area of resistance here, this last week's high, basically near the 1.9915, and traveled all the way towards the psychological 2 level, where the pair actually broke the psychological 2 level and tested the 2.0025 area, approximately there, guys, from which you can see it kind of retraced heavily, and now it's kind of sitting here just slightly above the pivot. That's a good sign. This is still a positive sign, but to be honest, given this strong retracement, what could happen here is we could see maybe a push a little bit higher here, but if it fails, if it struggles to push above the 1.9915 level, now this is where it could become very interesting for the bears, as we could see something like this happening. For those who are more on the cautious side, what you could do is just wait for a push below the 1.9785 zone, approximately here, and then target lower areas, because this way the pair would travel below its yesterday's lows, and then yep, it could open the path towards the 1.9715 or even lower. But of course, let's not exclude the upside as well. If that travels above the 1.9915 level, of course it may travel a little bit higher, but to be honest, it is already quite extended here to on the 4-hour chart. It overextended to the upside on the 4-hour chart. Of course, looking at this picture, it still is kind of climbing higher, but as you can see how far it is already from its this upside support line taken from the low of February, and we may see actually a slide back down lower, and maybe a revisit of this upside support line maybe in the upcoming weeks. So but then again, that's only in the scenario if we fail, if the pair fails to travel back above the 1.9915 level. So keep your eyes on that one, guys. Okay, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and if you want to join me later on in my traders tea time, and we'll have a look at a few of these instruments, maybe some new ones, and see how they're performing. But for now, I hope you have a wonderful trading day, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.